August 21st, 2026. And I have a special guest today, my co-author of my book, Stephen Farkas, the book Box Seats to the End, Will the People Save the Republic? We had a great time writing this book, didn't we, Steve?
We did. It was
It,
a very interesting time in our country.
it was, and it is a great book, I believe, Steve. And I think if they want to get it, you can get it at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Very interesting read describing what Donald Trump has been through the last 12 years, what the country has been through the last 12 years, and just how crazy the country went with a lot of this woke, left, progressive, communist crap that we've had to deal with, that we still deal with, don't we, Steve?
We do. It seemed like the fever maybe broke when Trump won in 2024, but as we've gone into 2026, it seems like it's come back with a vengeance. So I don't
It,
know.
it has, obviously, with the Democratic Socialists of America gaining a lot of traction. Now, we had a technical problem last time, but this time we got it all straightened out. So we're all set to go today. And what we wanted to talk about with our audience is the fact that me and Steve are on sort of different planes right now with how we view Donald Trump and the success of his second term. Steve feels it's been mostly a failing second term. I feel it's been pretty productive, although I agree with Steve on a couple points that where Trump has not done a great job. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Um, I had said before, Steve, that, I went over a couple of his accomplishments, and then I want to talk a little bit about why you think he's failed. One of the areas I agree with you on that he failed on, or his Justice Department has failed, there has been no reckoning of obvious criminal behavior that occurred in the last 10 years in this country. People like Brennan and Clapper and Comey, Fauci, Hillary Clinton, Mayorkas, and even Barack Obama, a lot of these people committed clear criminal acts and they have not paid any consequence. Comey is the only one that is facing a current indictment that he may have to go to trial on. So we both have shared that disappointment. I mean, it's beyond belief because my theory is if people get away with criminal behavior, they're going to keep doing it. And we all hear the famous words out of Washington, D.C., no one's above the law. Well, except the politicians in Washington, D.C., it seems to me.
Mhm.
So, the positives that I pointed out with Trump was closing the border, lowering the crime rate in the United States with the use of the National Guard, especially in Washington, D.C., and places like Memphis and in New Orleans, getting the favored station status for pharmaceutical company, favored nation status, which is lowering costs. We've got Ozempic down to $45 for Medicare. He blew up a lot of drug cartel boats coming to the country with fentanyl. And I've seen the numbers that we are now down from 100,000 deaths a year of young adults to 40,000 because of these actions and making a clear message. You come here to this country with fentanyl, you're going to die. Um, so those are a few of the positives that I felt pretty good about. And now on the other side, your point, and last time you made it pretty clear to me, we have anywhere you hear estimates of 30 million, 50 million, you think it's as high as 100 million illegal aliens in this country. And because of that, the costs and the affordability crisis in the United States, they're directly connected. Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, when I say up to 100 million, you're talking about these folks that are coming over are not just living the single life. So when a legal alien comes, they're immediately having children, and those children are what some people refer to as anchor babies. And it seems like the Supreme Court may have agreed that those children that are born here from illegal aliens are automatically American citizens. So that 100 million probably includes those children of the illegal aliens as well. But yeah, no, that's when you're talking about 100 million people having these illegal aliens in our country, economic costs are astronomical. They're draining the social welfare system. Think of the schools, right? How many millions and billions and dollars are being spent because we have children that are illiterate. They're coming into school. I'm not talking about kindergartners where you expect maybe you have to, build some reading skills, but they're walking into schools in seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, and functioning at a first grade level, academically. The healthcare costs are absolutely through the roof. The average American is paying more for their healthcare because the system is funding healthcare for illegal aliens. Medicaid is just rampant with abuse, right? Look what happened in Minnesota, right? The Leering Center, right, was supposed to be, they didn't know how to spell the word learning. And just, taxpayer money being funneled through, these NGOs, to help these illegal immigrants. And it's all fraud. Our young people can't buy houses because the average home is nearly $500,000 for, the median cost of a home. That's just unbelievable. So they're in competition. Our children are in competition with people who shouldn't be here. And those people who shouldn't be here have benefits our children do not have. Our children are paying for their jobs to be taken away. Our children are paying for them not to be able to afford a home, to get married, to start a family, because we have these people in this country that are just sucking all of that economic energy. And it's very, very sad. And our country is not going to last. It's not going to stand if this continues.
Right. Move your screen a little bit more. Anyway, we've agreed that we actually think that it may be too late to recover in the United States. The title of our book, Box Seats to the End, when we came up with that 10 or 12 years ago, we had no idea how accurate that might be.
Well, it goes back to, why was Trump elected? Trump was elected twice. You can argue three times if you think he won in 2020. But he was elected in 2016 and then again in 2024. The majority opinion of this country was the system is broken. We had to have people understood that you cannot have people just pouring into this country from all over the world, not assimilating, and automatically they're on welfare. The American people understood that can't stand, right? They knew the political system was broken. They knew the social systems were broken. They wanted change. Now, in 2016, the first Trump term, you can argue he was a political novice. He didn't know what he was getting into. He didn't realize how corrupt the system really was. But in 2024, that's not an excuse we're going to use anymore. Trump should have been in going into that second term with eyes wide open.
Right.
And again, the people demanded change. Not only did he win the Electoral College, but he was the first president or first Republican, nominee to win the popular vote in since probably George W. Bush.
Correct.
I'm not even sure. I think
he won it in 2004.
Yeah, 2004 he won. Yes, and before that it was his dad, right, in 1990 or 1988. Excuse me.
Right.
So Republicans can win the presidency without the popular vote, but that's very difficult to do. Trump did that. That means it wasn't just Republicans that were voting for Trump. You had lots of Democrats, lots of independents, people who would have never in their lives voted Republican, and they didn't vote Republican. They voted for Trump, and because he promised significant change that he has not delivered on. Now, you mentioned some of those things, closing the border, great. Now, I take a little different view on crime statistics and whether or not fentanyl is still, pervasive in our streets. Because if I didn't believe the statistics when Obama was president or Biden was president, why should I believe them when Trump is president?
That makes sense because there's a lot of deception and lying about statistics.
Well, exactly. So, again, we go back to illegal aliens. He promised mass deportations.
Right.
77 million people, Barry, wanted mass deportations, and that doesn't mean just the bad guys, right? Not just the bad hombres. The ones that, I'm talking about everybody, including those anchor babies. Right. If mom and dad are illegal and you don't want to break up families, well, you send them all back.
I get you.
That sounds rough. That sounds brutal, but that's the only way our country is going to survive. He promised that, and we have nowhere near mass deportations.
Right. when I mentioned the number that he's deported about 700,000 criminal illegal aliens, that's a small
Right,
number. It's a drop in
right.
the bucket.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to what you said that he was elected on in 2016, the only other break you can give him is that his hands were a bit tied with the whole Russiagate crap that
Well, that's
he
right.
went
Right.
through,
Right.
right? But like you say, no excuses the second term. If we get back to the whole immigration problem, which you completely believe is connected to the affordability crisis, I
Yes.
was mentioning to you the other day, I was shocked at the stat I looked up. 74 million Americans or people in the country are on Medicaid services, are receiving Medicaid funds. That is 20% of the population, one in five. And we agree that out of that 74 million, probably 30 million are illegal aliens.
Well, you said that I didn't read that stat. You said Americans. So if you're illegal, you're not going to be included in that stat. So it could be more than that. You could have 150 million people on some
Correct.
kind of government assistance, with nearly half the population that are in this country that are receiving government,
Yeah, and you
assistance in
talk
some
about
form.
unbelievable costs, right? When we're talking about 75 to 100 million people getting Medicaid funds, I mean, no wonder things cost so much. Now, the other issue with affordability, isn't some of it just on the companies, restaurants? Isn't it on the side that it has nothing to do with the illegal immigrants? They're just either greedy or they've blown prices up so much that as a consumer, you have to decide what you're willing to pay and what you're not willing to pay for.
Well, I mean, I don't think it just the affordability it's across all aspects of our economy. I don't think it just stops at housing. It's everything. Now, yeah, inflation's still raging. It's not. I mean, it's not as bad as it was during the Biden administration, but it's still a problem.
Right, right. I do now. When I've gone to certain restaurants that I've liked and I've seen they've blown their prices up 30%. So where I used to be able to get a meal with my wife for $40, it's now 65. I
Mhm.
no longer go to that restaurant. You see my point?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's wonderful. But again, I just think prices are up across the board. Talk to somebody who's trying to lease a car. They leased a car, 2 years ago, and they got turned in, and they paid $450 last time. That same car is now $750,
Wow, wow.
$850.
Right, right,
Gas prices here in Michigan, anyways, you can't get gas for under $4
right.
anywhere. You have to, so
And I
it's
mentioned in Florida today I paid 374.
So listen, it goes back to why was Trump elected? He didn't promise incremental change. He didn't promise we're going to make the decline a little more manageable, right? He promised significant change, and I think the voters are going to show us in November that he has failed miserably in that respect. Because this was not just window dressing. You're not just moving chairs around on the deck of the Titanic. We're taking on water. Um,
And
and
you feel the key to the significant change is mass deportations.
well, that's just a part of it. Mass deportations, restructuring the economy. The economy is not working for Americans. It's just not. I mean, how many folks between the ages of 20 and 30 are still living at home? How many are not
Wow.
married? How many young men are not married, don't have a significant other, and living with their parents? It's a staggering amount, and it's not good for the future of this country.
Do you have
Elon Musk.
any idea how Trump or the Congress could restructure the government, the economy to
Yeah.
make it better for young people?
So what he promised economic populism. That was, again, making the system fair. I think Americans understand that, if you start a company and, you're Elon Musk or an entrepreneur, you should be rewarded for the risks you're taking economically.
Right.
But when you have a CEO of a company and the company has just laid off 5,000 of their workforce, and that same CEO is then given a $20 million bonus because he's restructured, the economic outlook of the company, that's not a fair system.
I see.
And it was those kinds of things. Again, it's going back to we had a social compact in this country, right? Going back generations, that the government is going to tax you. They're going to use that money for things that maybe you don't agree with, but they'll promise to protect you, right? They'll promise, to create an economic environment that you can raise a family in, buy a house, maybe go on vacations once in a while. That social compact now has been broken by the government, by the system. And that's what the people were rebelling against when they voted for Trump. They knew instinctively the system was now working against them.
So
Again,
there's been a concerted effort to destroy the middle class in this country.
absolutely. And it's been going on for 40 or 50 years. It predates Trump again, a long time ago. But again, it got to that point where the people understood the system doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Now, I can tell you, Bear, I know Republicans, one of the reasons why Republicans in Congress specifically are kind of kneecapping Trump still, right? Even the second term, it's
right.
I've told you this before. The Democrats are the least of Trump's problems. The socialists are the least of Trump's problems. It's the Republicans in Congress, particularly the Senate. Right. They are always been the clear and present danger because they represent the system that he's trying to change. And again, he's not. I didn't expect him to win every single time, but he should have on January of 2025 when he assumed office. The Republican Senate was already mocking him. And how do we know they were mocking him? After he just won a resounding election in November, 6 weeks before then, right? They mocked him by making John Thune the leader and then Mitch McConnell basically in charge of the legislative agenda. Two anti-Trump forces. Just not even 6 weeks after election, they were already telling Trump, you're not in charge.
Right.
And Trump he didn't.
Now, what he has done, Steve, though, is he's gotten rid of a couple of those senators. Cassidy is gone. I believe, is Tillis gone?
Oh, Tillis is not running for re-election.
Not running for re-election. There was a couple that he got rid of through, sort of a political war.
Yes, but
but only 2 or 3 is not going to change much.
Well, not only that, but you and I have talked about this before, and I think even back in Trump's first term, Trump did not use. If he was trying to actually fix the country, he would have had to remake the Republican Party, and he did not do that in either term. And when he went after Cassidy, he said some mean things about Tillis, and Tillis decided not to run again. But the person he advocated for to replace Cassidy is probably worse than Cassidy. Cassidy is probably a better Republican president. Or I'm sorry, Republican senator than the woman, and I don't remember her name, who's probably going to win that seat. She is an establishment hack. She's a pharmaceutical hack. And then if you look at North Carolina, Whatley's going to get beat by probably 7 or 8 points.
Right.
Is it Governor Cooper? I think the Governor Cooper is running for that Senate seat. So yeah, he went after 2 people, but the people that are coming in to replace those are even worse.
Right. Now,
where's the America First senators?
Right. Now, to Trump's credit, and Steve has an affectionate way of referring to me. He calls me a Trump fanboy, because I'm defending him quite a bit. But I'm a little bit open-minded to criticize him. Now, to his credit, he's tried to get the SAVE Act through, right? Voter eligibility, and the Republicans have stabbed him in the back for it. He also had a presidential executive order against birthright citizenship. And what happened? The Supreme Court knocked it down and said it was illegal, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So he's trying to correct some of these things, and either from the Supreme Court or his own senators have been struck down.
Well, it goes back to the SAVE Act. Trump could have used the powers of the presidency to make the Senate very, very uncomfortable. He could have, for instance, there was a housing act or something that he did not sign. I don't know if you remember that. It was about a month or so ago.
Right.
And it was a bipartisan bill. And and you and I both know, if something comes through the Congress bipartisan, again, it's the system that's going to win, not the middle class.
Right.
They don't come together. The two parties don't come together and pass something if it's not benefiting the wealthy donors of both sides. Right. So Trump promised that he was not going to sign that housing bill. By the way, it was I think it was co-authored by Elizabeth Warren. That should tell
Correct.
you everything you know about it.
Right.
Um, but he promised not to sign it. Oh, like he was, like a real tough guy. Well, what he didn't tell the Rubes was that even if I don't sign it, it's still going to become law.
Because
And
they can override a veto,
it
right?
wasn't even override. He didn't have to even not even override a veto. It was going to become law no matter if he signed it or not.
Right.
What he could have done is vetoed it.
Right.
And that's what he should have done. And here's what he should have said. He said, okay, you know what? I'm going to veto that. That means that Senate then actually has to vote, right, to try to override it. You get those Republican senators on the record in an election year.
Right.
And what Trump said is, look what they're fighting. They're fighting for Elizabeth Warren's bill harder than they are the SAVE Act.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, there's just crazy stuff.
Yeah,
And
Trump,
you point out some important things.
he's never made the Republicans uncomfortable.
Right.
Or,
And
yeah.
I want to remind our viewers that Steve voted for Trump the last three elections, correct?
Correct. And
Correct.
I mean,
And you identify as a libertarian?
well, not a libertarian. I guess more of an independent.
Independent.
I had not voted for a Republican for president. I'm trying to think. It could have been George H.W. Bush in 1992. May have been the last time I voted for a Republican president.
Wow. Wow. So really Trump got you in his direction. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Trump. I mean, it was, again, I guess I wasn't, I didn't buy into. I knew what Trump was. I mean, Trump's been a part of my reality all my life, right?
Right.
I knew him as the brash real estate guy from New York that saved the ice rink in 1980. So I mean, I knew what Trump was. I didn't, I didn't buy into some of the hype about Trump. And you and I've said this to you before. I think sometimes Trump is marginally MAGA. I don't think he necessarily believes. I think he took the energy that was out there, and because I guess he's got some pretty good instincts, he was able to channel that into two national presidential wins,
Right.
which again, I got to give Trump credit. I don't think anybody else could have done that.
Yeah, he's a great salesman. He's a great speaker. He knows how to campaign. He ended up being a very good politician. I mean, we could have a debate for another time, but I absolutely will go to my grave believing he won in 2020. I believe he won three elections. So let's move to the midterms coming up in 2.5 months. We have a difference of opinion in that also. I believe the Republicans are going to win both the House and Senate. You do not.
I do not know. I think they're going to lose both. To me, that's where it seems like it's heading. Now, why do I feel that way? First of all, you have to look at the elections last November, the 2025. Democrats won coast to coast. Now, some people like to say, well, there's really only two big races. I think there was it the governorship in Virginia, maybe, and I forgot what the other race was. The Democrats won those. Well, those are Democrat states, da da da. But no. And here's where the Democrats win and Republicans lose all the time. In those off-year elections, the Democrats they win in state houses. They win at the local levels. They take over school boards. Sometimes we focus on the big national elections all the time, but there's those state level positions, those city positions that that's where the Democratic Socialists are starting to win. That's where they're becoming mayors of cities, right? Or taking over school boards or taking over city governments. It's at the local level. And again, it just, I think right now the Republicans are in trouble because again, Trump didn't win with just Republican votes. And the only people that are going to come out and vote Republican are going to be the people who think Trump walks on water, right? Who think he does no wrong. But
sort of like me.
Well, yeah, you're, but remember the Trump voter is a low propensity voter, which means they don't vote. And some of the Trump voters had never voted in their adult life. And the only reason why they started voting was to vote for Donald Trump.
So he got a lot of people off their couches.
Yes. And when he's not on the ballot, and we've seen it before, we've seen it in 2018, right? the energy is not there. Where's the energy right now? I would argue the energy is on the Democrat side. Yes, there's some infighting. I mean, the socialists are making noise. Over there. But again, I think the Republicans are in trouble. I'm going to look at 2 Senate seats. It's the one in Iowa, North Carolina. If the Republicans lose those 2 seats, both right now are Republican seats, then there's no way they control the Senate. Because if they lose those 2 seats, they're going to lose Michigan. But yes, believe it or not, I think the socialist in Michigan is going to beat Rogers, because I think then the mood of the country is going to be against the Republicans.
You might be right. I'll be shocked if Abdul Al-Sayed wins, but you might be right. You might be right. Now, I want to tell our audience before we stop today that I've known Steve for about 15 years, maybe more than that, maybe 15 to 20 years.
Probably, I think we met around 2010 or so.
2010. Okay, about 16, 17 years, because we were working in the same school system where Steve continues to work. I retired from it in 2014 in Dearborn, Michigan. And the good news for Steve is we used to get together in his office for lunch. And that's when we started talking politics during the Obama years. And we actually came up with the title of this book at that time, Box Seats to the End. Steve, I learned last time you were a political science major. I didn't know that. And very knowledgeable about politics. I've learned a lot of my political thinking from this man, and I appreciate what you have taught me. And the book reflects a lot of your learnings. I want to show the audience again the book, and pick it up at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, Box Seats to the End. Will the people save the republic? And the theory with that is the politicians in Washington, D.C. are not going to be saving this country. It's only the voters that can save this country. And I don't know if they're going to wake up or not. We have also said how educated women are causing a lot of issues in this country.
Well, it's particularly the white liberals. Yes, it's the suicidal empathy.
Right.
I don't know. And that's why I go back to what I think is going to happen in the midterms. Those are the kind of people that are going to go out and vote for sure, and they're not going to be voting for Republican candidates, and that kind of worries me. But going back to what you said, it's are the people going to resave the republic? The subtitle of the book there goes back to what I said about the Democrats do very well down ballot, and that's where their real power comes from. When they control a school board, right? That's how the DEI kind of that spread, is because they were taking over school boards and it became part of the school systems. But I would suggest to your viewers, get out, get involved. You don't have to run for president. You don't have to run for Senate. Vote. Run for your city council. Try to run for a state office, county commissioner. Just get involved politically, because if you don't, I promise you, your enemy is getting involved, and you can't just sit on the sidelines and hope for a knight on a white horse to come save you. Because like you said, Barry, it's not going to happen. There's no one coming to save us. It's only we have to save ourselves.
We have to save ourselves. I agree. And if we look to 2028, we'll see who's right in 2.5 months. We're going to see if I'm right or you're right. But in 2028, I have told you that I believe the Republican ticket's going to be Rubio for president and Vance for vice president. I have no idea who the nominee is going to be for the Democrats.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know there's a push for Rubio, and I think that's the establishment trying to stop Vance dead in his tracks. They know Vance is the successor to America First, and I would argue he will be a much more effective America First president than Trump can ever even dream of. And that's why Vance is a threat, and that's why I think Rubio is being pushed. But I think Rubio can win the Republican nomination. But he will. I don't believe he'll ever win the presidency. I don't think he'll play well in states like Pennsylvania or Iowa or Michigan or Wisconsin.
So you think Vance would have the better chance of winning the general election?
I think Vance is the only Republican that can do it. Now, I think there's going to be a third party challenge in 2028, and it might be a 4-party. I mean, you might have a 4th party. I think that Tucker Carlson is out there. And I think he's whatever he's doing is serious. And I don't know if it's going to be running a third party candidates. I don't know if it's going to be trying to insert his kind of candidate in the Republican primary process. But you could also have something, you could have the Democratic Party splinter as well. You could have four
Right.
possible,
I have a
candidates.
friend I golf with that is serious about wanting to start a new party called the Common Sense Party.
Right. Again, I mean, there's Barry. It's the energy. It's I know Donald Trump thinks he invented America first. I mean, he's got he's got a huge ego, and he thinks that he is the one that started it all. But it goes way before Trump. I'd argue it goes back to Ross Perot. That energy from Ross Perot in '92, and then you had the housing collapse in 2028, which was really a Great Depression. And none of that's been fixed. And a lot of the problems we have economically is because of what happened in 2020. I'm sorry, 2008.
Right.
But then you had the Tea Party movement, Occupy Wall Street. In 2016, you had Bernie Sanders phenomenon, right? And then you had Trump. Those are all, that's the energy that the people know the system is broken. And I think the system is still broken. And that energy is going to go somewhere. And where it's going to go in 2026 or 2028 is anybody's guess.
We were just talking recently, Steve, that the national debt now has just gone over $40 trillion. I believe that when George Bush became president in 2000, George W. Bush, the debt was 10 trillion. So it's gone up 30 trillion in 26 years. Now, I hear the interest on the debt is 1.2 trillion a year. And economists are predicting that in 5 years from now, the interest on the debt will be 3 trillion a year.
Yeah.
I don't know how a system sustains that.
There's always opportunity cost, right? If you're paying for that, what are you not then paying for, right? So
Right.
yeah, listen, we can't even comprehend how much 40 trillion is. You can't even wrap your head around how much
Right.
money that is. That
Right.
you and I know that money's never going to be paid back. And so I don't know. Again, it goes back. The system is broken. It's corrupt. It's rotten to the core. And what does the future look like? Maybe it's another topic for a different podcast. But I've heard something called the Great Reset, which I guess means you press a key and everything's gone. The debt's gone. Boof.
Okay, we'll have to talk next time about the Great Reset, right?
Or the trillion, maybe Trump can mint a
$1 trillion coin
or something, have his face on it. Could be an orange coin,
There you go. Well, there's no question these are crazy times. Our book describes a lot of the crazy times the last 12 years. And just when you think it can't get crazier, it does. And you can only imagine what Trump's last 2.5 years of his presidency will be like. I personally hope he uses every ounce of executive power that he has, but you probably doubt that he will.
Well, I mean, no, I think he will. The problem is, what's going to happen immediately. They'll find, they'll judge shop and they'll find some communist federal court judge somewhere that, it could be in a different state or something, and they'll put a nationwide injunction, and and that's why they do it, because they want to try to gum up the system.
Right.
I'm going to make a prediction too. I think Trump. I think if my prediction comes true, that the Democrats gain control of Congress, I'm not convinced they're going to be impeachments and going after Trump. They'd be dumb if they did that. I'm not saying they won't. They could be quite dumb enough to do it. But I think that Trump is going to come to an agreement. And not only are we not going to get mass deportations, I think we're going to see amnesty.
Wow.
I think we're going to see amnesty in sometime in early 2027, and that will save Trump's presidency. I'll save him from impeachment.
Right.
But again, it'll be another broken promise by another politician.
Yeah. And again, if that happens, you see, saving his presidency, even if they impeach him and Trump does not agree to their amnesty, I doubt they're going to get 66 votes of guilty in the Senate.
But the problem is, Trump is pro-amnesty. I know some people, again, he talked mass deportation. He said it twice. He said it in his first term. He said it earlier this year. And it's coming. It's coming. His donors want it. I think,
like you say, everything's really controlled by the money of the donors.
Yes, it is. Yeah. The average voter doesn't have a say. Again, Trump promised that wasn't going to happen anymore. And I think that's his biggest betrayal. He betrayed the people that voted for him. And
I
I'm
get
not,
you.
again, I'm not talking about the donors. I'm not talking about the people that would vote Republican if Lucifer himself was running. We always make fun of the Democrats voting for a dead guy or a corpse or something.
Right,
Republicans can be the same way, right?
right.
I saw an R next to his name. I saw him on Fox News. That must mean he's good. Well, that's obviously not true. So
Steve, this was fascinating. You raise a lot of very interesting points, and you might have a new career ahead of you, Steve, in
well,
podcasting.
I don't know about that, but
Hey, well, you have a great weekend. Thanks for joining the podcast. I really appreciate
all
it.
right, Gary, take care and thanks for having me.
Okay.
Bye bye.